Hi guys, so Boris Johnson was delivering a speech on Monday and I want to show you his reaction to a question that was asked. It was a challenging question, it was a cutting question, but it was a relevant and valid question. So let's hear what the question was and how Boris reacted to it.
Hello, Sir Patrick. UK COVID cases have doubled in a week. Matt Hancock says the virus is out of control, and we already knew that Tier 3 wasn't working in London or Kent. Plus, we've seen people travelling across the country for Christmas. Why isn't the whole country now in lockdown? And Prime Minister, throughout this pandemic, you seem to have frequently overpromised and underdelivered, whether it's turning the tide in 12 weeks, a second national lockdown being a disaster, cancelling Christmas being inhuman. It's become a pattern that we're increasingly familiar with. Why do you keep doing it? And do you recognise that it causes public confusion and, crucially, erodes public confidence?
I just want to show you that again. The way he reacted, I'm not taking this question. You can take these questions. I'm here to be the good cop. You are here to be the bad cop.
And crucially erodes public confidence.
Again, the tier decisions are not ones that are for me. But I will say that the
tiered system is not for you, but you have advised Boris Johnson's government that the Tier 3 system, that system is not working. And it's important that the government understand that Tier 3 will not bring down the spread sufficiently. So it's not just a case of it's not your question to answer. You have given advice to the government before, and you've explained to them that the tier system is not sufficient. A lockdown is the only tool sufficient to bring down the spread.
Evidence on this virus is it spreads easily, it's more transmissible. We absolutely need to make sure we've got the right level of restrictions in place. I think it is likely that this will grow in numbers of the variant across the country. And I think it's likely, therefore, that measures need to be increased in some places in due course, not reduced. So I think it is a case that this will spread more.
Now, it's important to remember that during these press conferences that there is the good cop and there is the bad cop. Boris Johnson is the good cop, the scientists are the bad cop. And this sort of filters down into the bowels of the media, the talk radios, the LBCs, where certain individuals will criticize the scientists, not Boris Johnson. They will say that, this guy here is running the country. He's deciding policy, when in reality he's not. He's offering advice to Boris Johnson, and then Boris Johnson decides, well, this part of the advice I'll go with. This other part I don't like. It's not good for me politically. Then I will ignore it. And of course, during these press conferences, you can see the language. Listen to the words that they use. Dr. Patrick here is telling the truth. He's saying, look, this virus is still spreading. The numbers are going to increase. He's delivering the uncomfortable truth about it. And then you're going to switch back to Boris Johnson, who's going to be all rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, and Pippa, on your general point, I think you have to imagine a kind of actual world in which we'd kept the country in some kind of perpetual lockdown or kept kids out of school for
But that's not the question. This is not the point. The point, Boris Johnson criticizes a lockdown. Now, let me go back to the questions that she actually asked. So she talked about you overpromising and under-delivering. Well, what examples do we have of that? Boris Johnson said that the virus would be defeated in 12 weeks, that people should just take it on the chin, that there wasn't necessary to go into a lockdown like other countries. Then he went into a lockdown. Then he said we can end the lockdown early and get people back into work, get people back into restaurants, supporting businesses. That turned out to be a disaster. Then he said he would not go into another lockdown because it would be disastrous for the country. Refused. Keir Starmer suggested he should do it. He refused, and then he went into another lockdown. Now, and we can park for a moment the disaster surrounding Dominic Cummings, which undermine public health and public support for the government in dealing with this disaster at the moment. But Boris Johnson himself has done enough to undermine public support.
The best part of a year, and I think that would have been really disastrous. And it was very, very important to keep moving forward as far as we possibly.
Once again, he has this idea. He presents this idea that there are only two possibilities: a permanent lockdown or nothing. Even he knows that that's not the case, but he tries to present it to the public. Look, Keir Starmer wants a perpetual lockdown, a never-ending lockdown. The media asked me about a lockdown. I'm not going into a permanent lockdown. I'm not going to close the country down forever. Nobody's asking that. Nobody's even suggesting it. But that's the way he presents it. But he has imposed lockdowns himself.
We could. I think that was the right thing to do. And now that we've got the vaccine coming in the way that we have, I think that we can certainly look forward to a very, very different world for this country from Easter onwards, as I think.
The question was, why do you over-promise and under-deliver? And what is he doing now? He's over-promising again. Look, we can look forward to a fantastic future, a new future. After Easter, things will be, getting better. How can you predict that? You don't know what's happening at the moment. This new strain, it came out of nowhere. Although it was something talked about back in September or October. But let's say, for the sake of argument, it's something new and you didn't know about it. You couldn't predict it. How are you predicting that everything will be hunky-dory in Easter, at Easter, when you don't know it will be? You shouldn't be presenting scenarios that you cannot support with evidence.
Chris and Patrick have said before, and it's very, very important for not just for people's morale, but it's also totally realistic. We have every reason.
It's totally realistic. In the same way that, you're going to have as many vaccines as many tests as necessary, that you'd roll out the Moonshot. What happened to Moonshot? We haven't heard from Moonshot anymore. Moonshot disappeared. There's a huge amount of money pumped into Moonshot, and we haven't heard anything about it anymore. The Test and Trace, the best world-beating app. What happened to that? Where's all the money that went into that system? Where did it go? How did it produce? What are the results of that?
Reason to be extremely hopeful about this country's ability to bounce back next year from COVID. And I think that is the right thing to say then and now. Then
and now. Not just, we made some mistakes in the past, but now we're going to fix them. No. Whatever I said in the past is still valid. Everything I said in the past, even though it turned out to be false, was true. So when Boris Johnson said you can just take it on the chin, he's defending that. When Boris Johnson said there's no need to go into another lockdown, he's defending that. When he said that we were going to have 10 million tests per day, he's defending that. Once again, as I said before, Boris Johnson presents himself as the good cop and the scientists as the bad cop. So they can tell you the bad news and he can tell you the good news. But unfortunately for Boris, I think people are starting to see through that. They don't believe him anymore. And they have every right not to believe him. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?